Today we're going to be talking about how to set up your own custom click and guide tracks. So if you're writing a new song, or if you don't want to use a full multi but you want to stay on time and on arrangement, we're going to talk about how to set those up. So first things first, you're going to hop in Safari or whatever browser you want to go to, and I would just type in multi-tracks free content. And search that, because multitracks.com actually, we'll let this load, actually has free click and guide tracks. So if you move down here, they got some free stuff in here. But what's important for you is right here, this click and guide section. They also have ProPresenter keys, which is pretty cool. So if you're looking to use ProPresenter, or control ProPresenter with Ableton, you could get that there. But if you just click on this, it's going to download for you. So what I would do, you'll pull it on your desktop and unzip it, and just put it somewhere safe. If you want to put it in your downloads folder or documents, or if you have like a music folder somewhere, just put it somewhere wherever you want to leave it permanently. I'm going to leave it on the desktop just for this purposes of this video. We'll go ahead and open Ableton, and we'll talk about how to get those in there. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is, if you look in this folder, you can see what it has in it. We'll open this. So click guide drum racks project. That's if you want to control those with MIDI. I don't usually do that. The big thing is, here's your click tracks: English guide, French guide, Portuguese guide, Spanish guide. Obviously, I don't speak French, Portuguese, or Spanish. I'm just going to delete those. And I don't need the drum racks project, so I'm going to delete that too. So you can see these each have little click files in them, and they're literally just tiny little wave files. So if I play it, it's just a bunch of things like that. And then in the English guides, you have dynamic cues and then song sections. So if I play like, what's this one? Let's see.
Exhortation.
There you go.
Chorus.
And so that's each individual file that you. Now we could just sit here and drag them into our session individually like this, but there's a little faster way to do it. So what I would do, open your little sidebar down here, and I'm going to click Add Folder. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to wherever I kept those, that folder that we downloaded. For me, I had it on the desktop, so I'm just going to open it. You'll see it opens down here, and then boom, here they are right here inside the application for you. So you don't have to keep looking, going back to Finder and coming back and all that kind of stuff. This makes it a lot easier. So the next thing you're probably going to want to do is grab an MP3 or the wave of the song that you want to do. So if you are doing an elevation song or whatever, go buy the MP3, rip it off YouTube, whatever you got to do. So that way you have something to work with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and save this. I'm just going to call it test song. Boom. And you see I've got my wave right here of the song I want to do. So I'm going to drag it into my project just so everything kind of stays together like this. And then what I will do is just drag it into my Ableton session here. That's probably going to be really loud, so I'm going to turn it down. Cool. So we've got our song in here. So the next important part is to set your BPM correctly. Because just like with our other songs, we need to make sure Ableton is running at the right speed. So I just happen to know that this song is at 85. So I'm going to do that. And then what you may have to do, depending on how the song was recorded, you may have to still line it, like maybe drag it around and line it up a little bit further. So I'm going to turn my metronome on so I can kind of hear where we're at and try to put this together. So let's see what we get. So you see how we're a little bit off there. So I'm just going to try to find a downbeat somewhere. Seems like it's right there where that waveform gets bigger. So I'm going to move it. You can zoom in as far as you need to. Try to get it kind of close. Let's see how that does. That seems pretty close. Another thing you can do, instead of listen to the whole song, if you'll just skip towards the end, you can kind of see if it stayed on the whole time. Because sometimes if you're off just a little bit, you can't tell at first, but by the time you get to the end, you would know that you were off. So I'll just kind of go in here somewhere. Cool. So for the purposes of this demonstration, that's on time enough. So now what you can do that you have right is you can just go to work putting your click tracks and guide tracks in. So we'll start with the click first. So I'm going to just label these. I'll call this song. I'll call this click. And I'll call this guide. So if you look inside the click tracks, you can see there's a bunch of different kinds here. I usually go classic, eighth, and quarter. You can use whichever ones you would like to do. So what you got to do, just got to kind of zoom it in here. So I'm gonna put my classic quarter on every quarter note, kind of drag it like that, and then classic eighth in between those. See if that's right. Oh, that's a little too slow. I want that subdivision in there, so I'm gonna drag them like that. Turn my metronome off. So now if you listen, that's about what we want right there. So instead of, this would take forever if you were going to drag them one by one like this. So what I do is I just kind of get one close. I'd like do a set of 4 like this, and then select them all and hold Command and D to duplicate, and boom, just like that. You can duplicate, and then once you've duplicated a bunch, you could select them, duplicate again, and you just run until you get to the end of the song. Right here, let's change these colors up a little bit. Whoops. There we go. There we go. Now they at least look a little different. Now if we play this, boom, we have our click. Once you drag those in there, I would recommend maybe solo your click and turn the metronome on. Just make sure everything is still in time like that. We could tell that it was. Obviously, I copied a little too many, so just delete those off the end. Let's see where the song ends at. Let's see. Oh, wait, before that. So it ends about right there. So you can leave some on the end if you want. I usually like to just clear them so it ends right as the song ends. It's personal opinion. Now that we've got our click in there, you see it's kind of weird looking at all these really small together. So if that annoys you, which it does me, what you can do, let's just pick right here. You can select it all. So put your locator on there, hold shift and click the first one. Just highlight them all somehow. And if you'll hold Command J, it's going to consolidate. And what that does is it pretty much just puts it into a nice, pretty wave continuous file for us instead of having to look at all those individual clips. So what's cool about this is if you do this and you realize you've messed it up, you can still Command Z and undo it. But try to be sure that you've got it before you do this to it. It's going to give you a weird name. This is the date that you consolidated the file. I usually will just delete all that and just call it click track so that I've got it. All right, so we've got the click in there. Now we just have to put the guides in there. Now, again, this is your guide, so you can make it say whatever you want. I usually try to follow standard conventions of the multitracks.com format. So they usually will give you a 2-bar count in. So what we'll do is we'll just start dragging. So we'll go 1, 2, And if we listen to those,
1, 2.
yep, there's that. And this song starts with an intro. So we'll go intro, 2, 3, 4. So if we listen to that, whoops, too far. If we listen to that,
1, 2. Intro, 2, 3, 4.
one thing that's really important about your guide tracks is make sure you're lining them up on the downbeat. So that way everything is synced and in time together. Because if you mess these up a little bit, like if you make them a little bit late, like if I drag them in here, it's going to really throw you off as you're trying to play with it. Like if it goes, let's see.
1, 2. Intro, 2, 3, 4.
That one you couldn't tell a whole lot, but it was a little bit off. And if you find yourself listening to the guide instead of the click, it's really going to let's make it just a big difference so you can kind of tell.
1, 2. Intro, 2, 3, 4.
So that's just a small thing. Try to make sure you got them lined up on the downbeat. And then we talked about standard conventions from multi-tracks. They also will put, as we move through this song, they will put their guides 1 bar before the, or 4 beats, I guess, before the section starts. So if we fast forward through this intro. So here was the intro right here. Also, if it helps you too, you can add some locators to kind of know where things are at. So we know like that the intro is right here. And you can name them if you want to. So for this verse 1, I'm just going to scroll down here to verse. You can do verse 1 or verse. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to take verse. And I'm going to put it 4 beats before it actually starts. So it's going to sound like this.
Verse.
Right there. And if you want, you can even add your, you can take this 2, 3, 4 from the beginning, and you can add it on to the end. So it gives you that count in.
Verse, 2, 3, 4.
Just like that. And that's really about all that there is to it. Like we said, let's try to put it 4 beats before, put the initial guide cue 4 beats before. You can consolidate that click track. And when you're done with the guide, you can do that too. I'm not going to do this whole song just for brevity, but you could take it. Let's just take this little section, hold Command J for consolidate. Boom. And it gives me those guides all together. And then you can rename it to guide. And once you do that, you can also put your MIDI cues in here. So when you bring it into like your session later, you can have it. So like insert a MIDI track, call it markers, maybe even change the color. We know that this is the count in. So we'll call it count in. This is the intro, verse, whoops, verse, etc., until you get to the end. That's about all it takes to implement your own clicking guides. Hopefully this helps you create your own click tracks. But also if you just need to augment, a click track from multi-tracks, you can use these the same way. You can drag them right over top of an existing clip like that, and you'll see it'll drag it right in there for you. So that's about it. Thank you very much.